Have you ever said something harmless, only to regret it when the consequences hit like a truck? What if the greatest danger isn't what people hide from you, but what you reveal without thinking? In a world that's always listening, could your own words be painting a target on your back? Let's talk about the kind of secrets that don't just expose you. They endanger you, not because you're reckless, not because you're naive, but simply because you trusted the wrong person at the wrong time. The truth is, the most dangerous information isn't what others hide from you. It's what you casually give away. It's the things we share without realizing how much they reveal. And throughout history, countless lives have crumbled not from betrayal, but from a single misplaced word, an innocent detail, a false sense of comfort. Today, we live in a hyper-connected world. Cameras, screens, and strangers watch us everywhere, online and offline. And those little fragments of information we casually drop, they can quietly label us as vulnerable without us ever realizing it. This video uncovers the 5 types of secrets you should never share, not if you value your safety, your freedom, or even your life. These aren't the obvious things you'd expect. They're the ones you overlook until the damage is done. So, whatever you do, don't look away. Don't think this doesn't apply to me, because the secret that costs you might be the one you didn't even realize you revealed. Let's start with the first one, because it's one that's become so normalized, it doesn't even seem dangerous anymore. 1. Never share personal financial information. Think back to the last time you saw someone post a photo of themselves holding new house keys, grinning in front of a shiny front door, captioned with something like, "Finally, a homeowner." It feels harmless, even heartwarming. We're taught to celebrate big life moments, and social media has wired us to chase approval, likes, hearts, comments, and applause. But here's the part no one tells you. That joyful post just revealed far more than you intended. It didn't just say you bought a house, it gave away clues about where you live, hinted at your financial standing, and even suggested you now possess something valuable, what you thought was a celebration. Might have been an invitation. A friend of mine, let's call her Rachel, bought her first home a few years back. She was in her early 30s, single, and had worked incredibly hard for it. Naturally, she was proud. She posted a few tasteful photos, a shot of her smiling with the keys, a cozy welcome mat, and one image of her front porch, where the street number was just barely visible. What could go wrong? But what Rachel didn't realize is exactly where the danger begins. Let's keep going, because the next secret might seem even more harmless, and that's exactly what makes it so risky. Rachel thought she was just celebrating a milestone, but in a world where exposure equals vulnerability, even innocent joy can draw the wrong kind of attention. It wasn't anything dramatic, just simple happiness. But within 2 months of that post, Rachel had experienced 2 break-in attempts, one while she was away on a weekend trip, and another during a regular weekday while she was at work. No, she didn't live in a high-crime neighborhood. She wasn't flaunting her wealth either, but she had unknowingly signaled to the world, "I have something of value, and not much protection to guard it." That's the thing about financial information. It's not always in what you say, it's in what you imply. A photo of your brand new car, a casual mention of your salary, or that year-end bonus, even telling someone you finally paid off all your debt. These small remarks may seem harmless, but they're like breadcrumbs, leading the wrong people straight to your front door. We like to think we're just sharing moments, celebrating wins, letting our friends in. But more often than we realize, we're not just speaking to people who love us, we're broadcasting to those who study us, not to inspire, but to exploit. Here's a truth that might make you shift in your seat. Someone is always watching, not everyone, not constantly, but enough to make a difference. And it's not just the hackers or anonymous online scammers. Sometimes it's that colleague you barely talk to, that friend of a friend you met at a party once, that stranger who noticed your shiny new watch, or the neighbor who always seems to ask the wrong kind of questions. These people start connecting dots you didn't even know you were placing on the map. We often imagine danger as a hooded figure lurking in a dark alley. But more often, it's the person sitting across from you at dinner, smiling politely, all the while calculating your worth like a mental spreadsheet. And here's something most people don't realize. Criminals don't typically target billionaires. Why would they? The ultra-wealthy are fortified. Surveillance systems, guards, legal teams, walls you can't climb. They're too much of a headache. But you're reachable, you're relatable. You've got just enough to make it worth the effort. You post vacation photos while you're still away. You casually mention your promotion. You show off that new phone, the kitchen remodel, the luxury gift you just treated yourself to, and every time you share a win, you might also be leaving a trail. One breadcrumb at a time. The psychology here is subtle but powerful. We assume the world is cheering us on, and yes, many people are, but not everyone. In the shadows of celebration, envy grows quietly, and not everyone feels inspired by your success. But there's another kind of secret, one even more dangerous because it doesn't just expose your wealth, it exposes your weakness. Let's talk about that next, Monty. Do not disclose your location or travel schedule. In a world where envy quietly watches from the sidelines, every piece of information you share can either protect you or expose you. And often the difference lies in what you choose to keep to yourself. Some people don't just admire your success, they feel entitled to it. They convince themselves they deserve what you have, and they don't care how they take it. That's where Stoic wisdom becomes not just useful, but vital. The Stoics embraced quiet strength. They believed in inner control, not outward display. They didn't parade their achievements, not because they lacked pride, but because they understood something deeper. True pride doesn't beg for attention. Instead of seeking applause, they pursued peace by mastering themselves, their desires, and their impulses. When you begin to think like a Stoic, you start questioning that itch to share every detail of your life. Why am I posting this? Is it really about connection, or am I chasing validation? That kind of self-awareness creates distance between your actions and your ego. And over time, that distance becomes clarity. You begin to value your privacy, not as something you hide behind, but as something that guards you, like armor shields a warrior on the battlefield. So, what's the solution? It's not about lying, it's not about hiding. And no, you don't have to become paranoid. What you need is intention, a conscious filter over what you share and why. When someone casually asks, "How much do you make?" Don't feel pressured to answer. Deflect with grace. Enough to take care of myself. I'm comfortable. Then shift the conversation. You don't owe anyone a detailed report of your financial life. Did you just land a huge promotion, or Finally hit a major goal? Celebrate, but do it privately with people you trust. And when you splurge on something new, think twice before you share it. Or better yet, don't share it at all. Because here's the truth, the less people know about your money, the safer you are. Not just from thieves, but from jealousy, manipulation, even legal complications. Treat your financial information like your bank PIN. Only share it when absolutely necessary. And even then, ask yourself, why does this person need to know? In today's world, safety often comes down to one critical skill: knowing what to reveal and what to protect. Oversharing might feel harmless in the moment, but once it's out there, you lose control. You don't decide how it's interpreted. You don't decide who hears it, and you definitely don't decide what they do with it. Privacy is power. Silence is safety. And discretion. That's your shield, use it, but financial secrecy is just one layer. Let's peel back the next. Because sometimes what puts you at risk isn't what you own. It's where you are. We've talked about how revealing your financial life can open the door to envy, exploitation, and danger. But what if the biggest threat isn't about your possessions, but your location? In this era of constant sharing, most people don't even realize the risk they're inviting into their lives. It feels harmless. Snapping a quick pic at the airport, checking in at your favorite cafe, tagging your exact location with a cheerful caption. But every time you do that, you're giving away something incredibly precious, your current whereabouts. And in the wrong hands, that detail can be turned into a weapon. Let me tell you about someone I once knew, Maya. She was newly engaged, full of joy, and like many people, she loved sharing pieces of her life on Instagram. One weekend, her fiancé surprised her with a romantic trip to Lake Tahoe. She was thrilled. Naturally, she documented it, posted a cute road trip selfie, then later, a few stunning shots of the snowy cabin they'd rented. On the second day, she shared a photo of them, snowshoeing through the forest, laughing together. The caption read, "No cell signal, no problems." But there was a problem. What Maya didn't know was that someone from her past, someone she had deliberately distanced herself from after an uncomfortable experience, had been silently watching her updates. He saw every moment of her getaway as it unfolded in real time. He didn't just see where she was, he saw where she wasn't. Her home in Sacramento, alone, empty, vulnerable, and while she was surrounded by snow, love, and laughter, someone broke into her apartment. There were no signs of forced entry, but drawers had been rifled through. Her closet had been searched. It wasn't just a burglary, it was personal. The intruder wasn't there for valuables. He was there for access, for control, for a twisted sense of connection that Maya never gave him. That's what makes this kind of violation so disturbing. Not every threat is about money. Some are about power. Some are fueled by fixation, obsession, revenge. And when you broadcast your location to the world, even if it's wrapped in joy and adventure, you're unknowingly handing over a roadmap to people with dangerous motives. This isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition. We've normalized telling the internet where we are, and more dangerously, when we won't be home. We assume only friends are watching, cheering us on, smiling at our stories. But social media doesn't come with a warning label. It doesn't filter out bad intentions. That guy you met once at a party, the woman from your old job 5 years ago, The anonymous account that suddenly liked 10 of your photos in a row. Any one of them could be watching and planning, and that's only one layer of exposure. The next is more subtle, but it cuts even deeper, because sometimes what puts you most at risk is sharing how you feel. Sharing your location in real time might seem innocent, just part of documenting life, but what you're really doing is giving strangers a guided tour of your movements. And that access, it's more dangerous than most. People realize, and research backs it up. Studies have shown that over 78% of modern burglars now use social media to select their targets. Think about that, nearly 4 out of 5. They're not guessing whether you're home. You already told them, you showed them, willingly, but it doesn't stop at theft. The danger becomes even more personal when you start broadcasting your daily habits. That peaceful morning jog you take at 6 a.m., the weekly yoga class on Wednesday nights, those solo walks under the quiet glow of city lights. To you, it's routine. To someone else, it's a pattern, and patterns are predictable. If someone wants to find you, they don't need to ask questions. They don't need a private investigator. All they have to do is watch. So why do we do it? Why do we feel this urge to post exactly where we are, exactly when we're there? It often boils down to something simple: validation. We want to feel connected. We want to be noticed. We want proof that we're living a full, exciting life. And we want others to see it. But this constant hunger for connection can become a dangerous liability. That's where Stoic thinking offers an antidote. The Stoics taught that true peace comes from within. They valued what could be controlled and let go of everything else. And your safety? That's something you can control, but only if you stop. Placing your personal movements on public display. They didn't seek applause or recognition. They trained themselves to find joy in the experience itself, not in showing it off. And that mindset, it's more relevant now than ever. Living with a Stoic mindset means not everything meaningful needs to be shared in the moment. You delay gratification, you protect your energy, you guard your peace. And with time, you begin to ask sharper questions. What am I gaining by posting this right now? Who am I trusting with this information? What's the cost if the wrong person sees it? This kind of reflection, this internal pause, is far more powerful than any lock or alarm system. It makes you less predictable, less exposed, and far harder to manipulate. So here's a simple but powerful shift. Wait. Post your vacation photos after you've returned home. Talk about that amazing new restaurant after you've left the table. And save details about your routines for those few people you know you can trust completely. And most importantly, stop confusing caution with fear. It's not fear, it's awareness. It's seeing the world not through rose-colored glasses, but with clear eyes. And when you learn to control what you reveal, there's one more thing you must guard closely. Not just where you are, but what you feel. Let's explore that next. 2 or 3. Do not talk about your security systems. We've explored how revealing your location can quietly unlock doors for the wrong people. But once you reclaim your privacy and stop broadcasting your movements, something powerful happens. You take your life back. We live in an era where even joy, when shared carelessly, can turn you into a target. But when you guard your location, when you stop handing out a roadmap to your presence, you shift the power dynamic. You stop being an open invitation and start becoming something sacred, protected, deliberate, respected. Because the most dangerous people in this world, they don't always need to break in. They just wait for you to open the door, and when your location is public, that door might already be wide open. In this digital age, privacy is your fortress. And the strongest walls aren't built with paranoia. They're built with intention. Be discreet, be thoughtful, be stoic. Now let's talk about something that's just as revealing and just as dangerous. Talking about your personal security systems. In a world where oversharing has become second nature, fueled by hearts, likes, and story views, one of the most underestimated threats is the information people casually drop about their home security, or the lack of it. It usually starts with pride. You feel responsible. You want to show that you're taking steps to protect yourself. So what do people do? They install a new security system, cameras, motion sensors, smart locks. Then they post about it. Maybe it's a selfie in front of the digital keypad or a caption that says something like, "Finally got the place secured." It seems responsible, right? But here's the truth. That post just gave away your blueprint. You've just told the wrong people exactly what kind of system you have, what kind of technology is guarding your home. And based on that, they'll make guesses about what's inside, about whether it's worth the risk, and about how to bypass it. What you intended to be a warning becomes a challenge, and here's where it gets worse. Some people go the opposite route. They minimize their setup. They laugh it off at a dinner party. They say things like, "There's nothing worth stealing in my house anyway," or they mention in a community thread that they've never even needed an alarm system. And just like that, they've sent another message to anyone listening: this place isn't well protected. But whether you're overselling your security or downplaying it altogether, the result is the same. You've just made your defenses visible. And there's more to uncover. Because next, we'll look at the most personal secret of all: your emotional vulnerabilities. Whether you're over-explaining your security or brushing it off like it's no big deal, the outcome is the same. You've exposed more than you protected. And for someone watching with the wrong intentions, that's all they need. At first glance, saying you don't have a security system might sound modest, even humble, a way of showing you're not flashy. But in reality, what it signals is something far more dangerous. Your home is an easy target, and criminals, much like water, don't look for resistance. They look for the easiest path forward. They're not trying to be challenged. They're looking for openings. And when you casually mention you don't have an alarm, no dog, no neighbor checking in, that's not harmless small talk. That's an invitation. Let me tell you about Greg, someone I knew back in college. A few years ago, he moved into a new home with his wife and their young daughter. Being a tech enthusiast, he went all in on home upgrades. One of his proudest purchases? A high-end safe for storing some cash and priceless family heirlooms, including a vintage watch from his grandfather. He was so excited about it that he shared the details in a home renovation Facebook group, mentioned the brand, the biometric clock, and even its hiding spot, tucked in the closet behind his suits. Just like a James Bond movie, he joked. He wasn't bragging. He was just proud. But a few weeks later, while he and his family were out of town, their home was broken into. The TV, untouched. The laptop, still there. But the safe, gone. It doesn't take a master criminal to figure out what happened, just someone patient, someone who listened, waited, and acted. That's the part most people miss. Not all criminals are impulsive. Many are deliberate, quiet, strategic. They study behavior, they gather information, and they plan based on what you unknowingly give away. Greg's mistake wasn't buying the safe, it was talking about it publicly. He shared sensitive details in a space where strangers were listening, and the truth is, we all do this more than we realize. We give virtual house tours on social media, showing off our kitchen renovations and casually mentioning how the bedrooms are tucked away at the back, far from the street. We joke with coworkers about Grandma's old jewelry being in the nightstand. We mention keeping a gun under the bed like it's just part of the story. Why? Because it feels normal, relatable, like bonding. But what we're really doing is laying out a blueprint, a playbook, a list of instructions for anyone looking for a reason or a way in. And it goes deeper than just physical security, because the final layer, the one most often ignored, isn't about what's in your home. It's about what's in your heart. Let's talk about the risks of sharing your emotional vulnerabilities. 4. Do not reveal emotional or family vulnerabilities. We often think that talking about our precautions makes us seem prepared, responsible, even untouchable. But true security isn't loud, it's quiet. It's not about who knows you're safe, it's about making sure the wrong people don't. We convince ourselves that by mentioning our safeguards, we're doing something right. That by sharing what we've done, we're somehow safer. But real safety isn't performative, it's private. Stoic philosophy echoes this truth again and again. Epictetus once said, "Be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in few words." This wasn't just advice for social conversation. It was a deeper call to restraint, to self-mastery. It's about knowing when to hold back, when not to offer more than what's required. To live stoically is to recognize that external praise, envy, curiosity, or even admiration, none of it defines real success, and none of it should tempt you into oversharing. Because here's the hard truth. Talking about your security systems, your valuables, your weapons doesn't make you safer or wiser. It makes you vulnerable. The Stoics believed that true strength is silent, that real power lies not in what people see, but in what they can't figure out. A fortress isn't strong because it shows off its defenses. It's strong because no one knows where the cracks are. So what should you do when conversations turn toward your home? You keep it vague. If you must discuss security, a simple "I'm covered" is enough. If someone asks what you keep in your home, steer the conversation elsewhere or answer in general terms. If you're talking about renovations, share the experience, not the blueprint. The key is learning to distinguish between what feels good to share and what's actually smart to share. Because the moment the wrong person knows what you have, how it's protected and where it's kept, you've lost the advantage. You no longer hold the upper hand. You've handed it away. And in a world where information spreads faster than regret, that handover can cost you more than you realize. Your home should be your sanctuary, not a showroom. Your security? Keep it silent. Your possessions? Keep them sacred. Speak less than you feel tempted to, and guard your privacy the same way you'd guard your front door. because it is the lock on your life. Now, we've talked about protecting your space and your belongings. But there's one kind of vulnerability that goes even deeper. It's not about what you own, it's about what you feel. Let's look at the danger of sharing personal and emotional weaknesses. So far, we've talked about guarding your possessions, your routines, your home. But now we enter the most delicate territory, the emotional battlefield. Because what you reveal about your inner world can be just as dangerous as what you show about your outer one. The threat here doesn't carry a weapon. It doesn't break windows or pick locks. Instead, it wears a smile. It pretends to understand. It asks questions, nods with empathy, and before you realize what's happened, you've handed over your most vulnerable truths. And that damage? It's often invisible until it's too late. This isn't some abstract warning, it's real, and it happens quietly every single day. Let me tell you about Jordan. He was a gentle, soft-spoken man in his mid-50s who had recently gone through chemotherapy. After everything he endured, he wanted to turn his pain into purpose. He started opening up in his local community group, hoping to inspire others and offer support. People praised his courage, applauded his honesty, but hidden among those applauding eyes were a few that didn't see hope. They saw opportunity. Jordan lived alone. He was often tired and sedated from pain medication. And one night, someone used that knowledge to break into his home while he slept. There was no confrontation, no shouting. The intruder didn't need to fight him. They already knew he wouldn't be a threat. That's the chilling truth. When you share your health struggles, your emotional scars, or the fears that haunt you, you're not just being vulnerable. You're handing out the blueprint for how to hurt you. And not everyone who listens has your best interests at heart. We all have the need to feel seen. We crave connection, and vulnerability, when shared in the right spaces with the right people, can be healing, even beautiful. But we live in a time where oversharing has become the norm. We've been trained to bare our souls in places never meant to hold that kind of truth. Facebook comment sections, social gatherings, viral TikTok confessions, and when those pieces of ourselves fall into the wrong hands, they don't just inform, they invite manipulation. Here's the thing, manipulators and predators aren't always monsters in disguise. They're opportunists, observers. They don't need malice to act, they need information. And weakness, to them, isn't something to respect. It's something to use. If someone knows you fear confrontation, they won't challenge you directly. They'll push your boundaries just enough to watch you fold. If someone learns you live alone and have mobility issues, they see a path of no resistance. And if they hear stories about your abusive ex, your past trauma, or unresolved pain, that becomes a map of emotional pressure points. Next, we'll explore how these hidden vulnerabilities get exploited and how you can protect your heart just as fiercely as your home. When you reveal your emotional wounds, you think you're being honest, brave, relatable, but to the wrong person, what you're really doing is handing them the perfect script to manipulate you. When someone knows your phobias, your guilt, your unresolved grief, they now hold tools they can use with precision. This isn't general harm. It's not random cruelty. It's customized destruction, calculated to strike where it will hurt most. And here's the part many people overlook. Even when your intentions are good, even when you're trying to protect or honor others, your openness can still endanger them. Maybe you've casually mentioned that your elderly parent lives alone, or you've talked about your child's after-school schedule. Maybe you once shared that your sibling with a disability is home during the day while everyone else is at work. These aren't just personal anecdotes. They're maps of vulnerability, and without even realizing it, you might be putting the people you love most at risk. The Stoics approached disclosure very differently. They weren't emotionless. They weren't cold or detached. They were deliberate. Cratippus once said, "The wise man will speak correctly and with restraint. He will confess not to everyone, but only to those who are suited to hear it." That phrase, "only to those who are suited to hear it," is where true power lives. Stoic philosophy doesn't urge us to be silent out of fear, but to speak with awareness. To know that not everything should be processed in public. Not every truth is meant to be broadcast. To live stoically doesn't mean you must carry your burdens alone. It simply means understanding that discernment is protection, that your vulnerability is precious, and when placed in the wrong hands, it stops being a source of healing and it becomes a weapon. So, if you're living with trauma, navigating health challenges, or recovering emotionally from loss, choose your confidants wisely. Use private channels, seek professional support, lean on people who've earned the right to hear your truth, and when you find yourself about to share something personal in public, pause. Ask yourself why. Is it truly to connect, or is it to be seen? Because sometimes what we're really craving is someone to look at us and say, "I get it." But that moment of validation isn't worth handing over the keys to your emotional security. You can heal without broadcasting. You can connect without exposing. You can be vulnerable without becoming unguarded. And when you start choosing what you share with intention, there's one final thing you need to understand. You don't just protect yourself by what you hide. You protect yourself by how you live. Let's wrap it up. Audroras 5. Do not share information that could be used for identity theft. You don't have to expose your pain to prove your strength. In fact, some of the most powerful people are the ones who speak the least and listen the most. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever opened up to someone only to regret it later? Has your honesty ever been twisted, used against you, or misinterpreted? If it has, you're not alone. And if you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments, because your story might be the one that wakes someone up before it's too late. Because in the end, your safety isn't just about what you can physically defend. It's about what you never expose in the first place. Sometimes your most powerful armor isn't your strength. It's your silence. Now, let's talk about one last type of exposure that many people overlook, and it's one of the most dangerous, the kind that opens the door to identity theft. When was the last time you really stopped to think about what you've shared online? I'm not just talking about obvious things like passwords or credit card numbers. I mean the casual stuff. A throwback photo of you with your childhood dog. A Facebook comment about your mom's maiden name while chatting about family trees. An Instagram story joking about the street you grew up on. Seems innocent, even endearing, right? But in the hands of someone with bad intentions, those innocent fragments become something else entirely. A roadmap. A digital breadcrumb trail that leads straight to your identity. Now imagine this. Every small detail you share is a piece of a puzzle. harmless on its own. But the moment someone determined starts collecting enough pieces, from your captions, tags, old posts, public bios, they begin assembling a complete profile, not a story about your personality. A weapon, a blueprint they can use to impersonate you, break into your accounts, apply for credit in your name, or worse, ruin your reputation and your peace of mind. And here's the worst part. You gave them the tools yourself, not because you're reckless, but because you were taught that sharing equals connection. That openness means authenticity. But here's the reality. In this world, openness without boundaries isn't connection, it's exposure. Let me tell you about Melissa. She was a smart, positive, and tech-savvy young teacher who loved doing about me quizzes on Instagram stories. You know the kind: favorite band, Pearl Jam, first pet, Lucky, hometown, Dayton, Ohio. She posted a nostalgic story about her first car, a silver Toyota Corolla, and even uploaded a graduation photo clearly labeled with the name of her high school. What she didn't realize was that, piece by piece, she was laying out the entire structure of her online security questions. Birthplace, pet's name, first car, school, all the common answers used by banking apps, email verifications, and password recovery tools. And the person gathering those pieces? They weren't playing along. They were planning. Next, we'll finish this journey by putting everything together and show you how to live safely, powerfully, and intentionally in a world that's always watching. Melissa didn't give away her identity in a single moment. She gave it away piece by piece, cheerfully, unknowingly, through the small details she thought were harmless. And with those scattered clues, she had unknowingly answered nearly every standard security question tied to her online life, her email, her banking app, and even her shopping accounts. It didn't take long before things started to unravel. Her inbox was suddenly flooded with alerts, password reset attempts, suspicious logins, bank notifications flagging unusual transactions. In just a few hours, she was locked out of multiple platforms, her digital identity slipping from her grasp. And though she eventually hired a cybersecurity expert to help her regain control, it took weeks to clean up the chaos. But what hurt the most? It wasn't the hassle or even the financial risk. It was the feeling of betrayal, because she hadn't lost her privacy to a masked hacker in a dark alley of the internet. She gave it away, one cheerful post at a time. And this is how modern identity theft often works. It's not the cinematic image of a shadowy figure in a hoodie furiously typing lines of code. It's slower, smarter, more patient. It's someone scrolling quietly, collecting your public breadcrumbs. They're not breaking in. You left the door unlocked, and they simply walked through. The most unsettling part? It's how all these small pieces, when combined, become dangerously powerful. Your birth month? Casually dropped in a birthday post. Your high school mascot visible in an old yearbook photo. A playful comment about being class of 2007. A tagged picture of your brother that reveals your shared last name. Individually, harmless. Together, they narrowed down your identity, your age, your hometown, your family tree. Sometimes even enough to guess fragments of your social security number, or launch incredibly convincing phishing attacks. And once these people know what apps you use or where you bank, they don't have to guess. They mirror the real platform. They replicate emails with pixel-perfect accuracy. They bait you with what Looks like a routine security update. One click and it's over. This is why a Stoic mindset isn't just a philosophy. It's a survival skill. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In our digital world, that wisdom becomes a compass. Stoicism is about clarity, self-discipline, and restraint. It's about controlling what you can and releasing what you can't. And what you can control is what you choose to share. You can pause. You can choose silence over impulse. You can ask yourself before posting, who does this really serve? Who could misuse this? Would I still share this if I knew someone with bad intentions was watching? And that pause, that moment of reflection, is where true digital strength begins. Now, let's bring it all together and wrap up with one final truth about protecting your peace in a world that profits from your exposure. If you paused before sharing, if you asked yourself, what could someone with bad intentions do with this? You've already started living with intention. That's what Stoicism teaches us. To live by Stoic values means treating your personal data with the same care and respect you'd give your physical body, with clear boundaries, with the understanding that exposure, digital or emotional, always has consequences. It means knowing deep down that you don't owe the world your full story, especially not to the faceless audience scrolling, screenshotting, and storing pieces of your identity for reasons you may never see coming. You can live fully without revealing everything. You can build real connection without handing over the keys to your privacy. You can share without being stripped bare. The answer isn't paranoia, it's precision. Use security answers that only you know, ones you've intentionally crafted to mislead outsiders. Don't advertise which apps you use to manage your money or where you shop online. Audit your digital footprint. Scroll through your old posts. Delete what no longer serves you, or worse, exposes you. Tighten your privacy settings like you'd lock the front door at night. Because if you wouldn't give a stranger a tour of your home, why give them a tour of your identity? Melissa didn't get hacked because she was irresponsible. She got hacked because she trusted a system that rewards oversharing and punishes those who dare to stay private. But here's the truth. We can disrupt that system with intention, with restraint, with silence when it matters most. Guard the tiny truths, the ones that seem too insignificant to cause harm, until they do. And now, I ask you, have you ever shared something online that in hindsight felt too revealing? Have you ever answered one of those innocent quizzes only to later realize how much it exposed? Drop your story in the comments. Let others learn from your experience. You might be the voice someone else needs to hear right now. And if this message resonated with you, don't stop here. Tap the suggested video on your screen. It's packed with practical steps that build on everything we've talked about. Because in today's world, information is power, and the wisest thing you can do is guard what you know. That isn't fear, that's strategy. That's Stoicism applied. If you've made it to this point, you already know this isn't just a video. It's a wake-up call. These 5 secrets aren't just tips. They're a personal firewall in a world that watches, listens, and waits for you to drop your guard. You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live smart. Because protecting your life starts with protecting your information. So, here's your next move. Stay aware, stay intentional. And if this opened your eyes, share it. Someone you care about might need it more. Then you know your safety is your responsibility, but you're not in this alone. Let's keep building your digital defense together.